It's often been said that there are 7 wonders in the world, but through experience, I beg to differ. And it was actually on one of my journeys to Southeast Asia, a country called Cambodia, where I went to see one of the 7 wonders of the world called Angkor Wat, that I feel as though I had the chance to actually experience perhaps the 8th wonder of the world. It's something that we all know of. It's something that is not a physical location, that is bigger than any place, country, or material thing. In fact, it's something that each and every one of us is. To me, it's the human spirit. What happened is I ended up in Cambodia, and I went to see Angkor Wat, which is these amazing temples that were discovered not that long ago. And I was guided to go to the capital, a place called Phnom Penh. And if you know anything about Cambodia, decades ago, Cambodia was actually destroyed. The people were destroyed and killed in the killing fields by a man called Pol Pot and his regime. It was atrocious what happened to these people. All electricity, all cars, all money was burned and destroyed, and anyone that had any intelligence was killed in what is one of the great acts of brutality of the history of our whole world. It was devastating. So here I am in this country, and I'm in the capital at the killing fields, and I'm feeling the intensity of this young country, the intensity of this place, the sense of kind of sadness that permeates the whole country. And I was being guided around the capital by an amazing guide who was a woman. She was probably somewhere in her late 30s. And she's telling me about the history of Cambodia and Pol Pot and some of the atrocious things that happened. And I went to some of the prisons where they were tortured, and you could really feel their spirits there. And I asked her whether she had any experience of this, and she turned around and she looked back at me and she said, "You know, Kute, when I was 8 years old, I was with my parents and they came. They took me away, and they made a whole group of us walk for months on foot in chains to the fields in the countryside of Cambodia. And they made us work, and they made us farm, and they made us work, and it was horrible. And I thought I was going to die, and tears streamed down this woman's face, and my heart just broke, and I just wept as I listened to this woman's story. And I didn't cry in that moment because I felt sorry for her, even though what happened was horrible, horrific, something horrific for an 8-year-old to experience. But I wasn't crying out of pity. I was crying out of sheer, profound reverence. Here was this woman that had every reason to be angry, to be bitter, to be crazy, to be absolutely outraged. And I wasn't crying out of pity for this woman, but I was crying out of sheer reverence and, in a strange way, inspiration. Here was a woman that really had every reason to be mad, to be bitter, to be upset. And, you know, I often think, wow, if I was in that position, would I even be alive? Would I have killed someone by now out of my own torture of my own emotions? Yet here she was, having gone through the concentration camps of Cambodia, an amazing, kind, profound, deep, reflective, sensitive, incredible human being that I was actually having this dialogue and communication with, and it just touched my heart so profoundly, deeply. And it reminded me of the raw magnificence and the raw power of this thing called the human spirit. You know, as children, we're born, and we're just born free. We're born in touch with life. We're born in touch with the essence of who we are. Yet as things happen through our lives as children, we're like these flowers, you know. We're like these flowers that start growing, and all of a sudden experiences happen like a cement block is dropped on us in that moment, and we're just squished. And we're flattened, and cement block after cement block after cement block is dropped on us. And you would think that as these delicate flowers, we would just collapse and die and just give up this whole thing called life. But no, we don't. The spirit inside of us keeps growing. And all of a sudden, it's like we as these flowers curve and move and curve. And all of a sudden, up from out of these cement blocks, you see a little sprout of a seed. And that seed, although it's curved and weird and strange and all mangled, is still growing. Is still growing. Is still growing. And sure, that flower might be a little damaged, but it continues to grow. And it is so incredibly, incredibly amazing that as human beings, considering everything you and I, and you know, we all have stories to tell. We all have experiences we have been through. And considering all of that history, here we are, alive, breathing, courageously living this thing called life. And sometimes it's easy to forget that when we're in daily life. Sometimes we go to the grocery store, or we're dealing with our parents, or we're dealing with our kids, or we're dealing with people that we don't even know. And it's so easy to look at them and have these incredible judgments. I have them, we all have them. Like, wow, isn't that a weird person? That person is really screwed up. And it's so easy to judge these people. But after that experience in Cambodia, it shifted something for me, where I really got in touch with, when I see an individual, you just never know what that person has been through. You just never know what their life has been. And it's easy to judge, but you just never know. And just the fact that they are alive, just the fact that we're able to have this communication, it may not be perfect. We may not agree. You may not agree and get on with everyone, but just the fact they're able to live and breathe and walk and be here is a miracle, and it takes courage. So I want you to remember this. Remember the absolute miracle and wonder that you are, that human spirit that is living and breathing you. And when you go into your daily lives, remember and dare to see that in those around you, especially those that might piss you off. You and I are the real wonders of this world.